What's up? It is I, the Mrs. Roper of BookTube, and I am here to talk about this fucking book. Let me get my coffee. Oh, that sound was disgusting. My name is Logan and welcome to the Bi Book Boy. I am a chaotic bisexual. I read books. Haus is a novel that was just made recently aware to me via TikTok. I'm pretty sure it was released in 2021. Pretty new release. We're gonna stay relatively spoiler free here, folks, which is going to be difficult. Trigger warning for this book. This book includes heavy violence because it is a slasher book, themes of sexual violence and sexual assault, and it really delves into addiction. So if those things are things that are not healthy for your mental health to experience, I will not be offended if you hop off now. Like and subscribe. You know what to do. Now that we've done this, a brief synopsis. Haus by PJ Vernon is a gay slasher thriller. I wouldn't call it a slasher, but if this were a movie, it would be a slasher movie, is the way that this goes. It is a psychological thriller about a gay man who has a very unfortunately violent experience in a bathhouse, and then it goes from there. Our main protagonist, Oliver, he's a recovering addict. He's been sober for 5 years. He lives with his boyfriend in Washington, D.C., and at the very beginning of the book, he goes to a bathhouse with the intention of cheating on his boyfriend. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what a bathhouse is, but for those of you that don't know what a bathhouse is, a bathhouse is basically like a multi-level gym / sauna that's specifically for gay people, and it's a front of a sauna, but it's where gay men go to have sex in steam rooms and hot tubs. They were very common in the 70s and 80s. They're still around now, although I think they're a lot less discreet than they used to be, but I don't know. Anyway, though, they are often low lighting, red lighting, no windows. You're in a steam room. People are fucking in the corners and shit. It's a very isolating environment and a very intense environment and a very disorienting environment, and it is the perfect environment for a scary horror book. The concept for this book is genius. Anyway, Oliver goes to a bathhouse, meets a dude named Christian. They go into a private room in the bathhouse and are about to get some schmexy times on when the tables have turned and Christian tries to kill Oliver. Oliver escapes and runs out of the bathhouse, but thus chaos ensues. That's really the only spoiler, the only spoiler-free synopsis I can give here. Talking points. This book brilliantly rides the line of being a campy horror novel. It's very, if you step away from it, the plot points are very cut and paste murder mystery thriller novel type of thing. But it does it so well. And not only that, it PJ Vernon, his name's PJ, right? Yeah, PJ Vernon. It's fine. I'm a reviewer. I have credibility. PJ Vernon incorporates a lot of the final girl tropes and the horror tropes and inserts gay stereotypes and LGBTQ plus tropes on top of those and just teams them together and does it beautifully because it's very campy, but it's also in a way that's not degrading, which, if any of you know me, is exactly the kind of shit I want to be involved in. So if this ever becomes a movie, if it's in development, shameless plug here, I would love to be involved in this somehow. Please and thank you. For example, so historically, and one may think bathhouse, that concept sounds terrifying, and while yes it does, historically speaking, because queer men have been othered by society for, since the beginning of time, and it's, it can be physically dangerous to engage in flirtatious behavior and conventional dating norms and standards in public. Queer men historically have forever been forced to put themselves in compromising and dangerous situations for the sake of anonymity and safety, while still being able to seek out pleasure and seek out emotional attachment and acceptance. And this book really does a great way of using horror and thriller elements to highlight just how compromising these positions we are often forced to put ourselves in can become. This book does a really good job of like separating sex for pleasure and like violence, and very much differing, like those things are not those things are not the same thing. The violence and like the sexual violence and things like that does go on in this book is not fetishized. It's very like, it's made very clear the importance of consent and the importance of like just physical care for your partner, and also the fact that not all gay men are sexual fiends is made very clear here, and that's rare in both horror books and gay books. Like that's it's a very rare thing to happen in either stance. So the fact that it happened in both stances in one book makes me happy. And also like the way that society expects gay people to interact with consent versus the way that they actually are is very prevalent in between the way that Oliver deals with what happens to him, the way that just like things continue there, the way that the police officer treats Oliver in the investigation, like, oh, it's so good. Other things that I really enjoyed. Addiction is explored in a way that I didn't expect here. Because oftentimes, addiction's usually a thing in thriller books. It's often there. It's also oftentimes a thing in gay books, where the protagonist is an addict, the protagonist relapses, the protagonist has problems, etc. The protagonist drags themselves up back, like from a rock bottom stance. Like that's a very common thing. And those things do happen, and I did expect them to happen. However, what I did not expect to be explored is the aspect of the toxic environment that rehab situations often can create. I.e., Nathan. Nathan is Oliver's boyfriend / fiance, and let me tell you about him. Nathan is a privileged, rich, very controlling boyfriend who met Oliver right as Oliver was getting sober and dedicated himself to getting Oliver sober, helping Oliver, holding Oliver accountable, helping Oliver get his life back together. Good on the surface, right? Yeah, good on the surface, but I don't know where I was going with that. Yes, he's good on the surface, but you roll back the tape and you find, roll back the tape? What the fuck am I saying? You look a little closer. Sorry, I've had 2 iced coffees and not 3, and I haven't drank my tea yet. I'm mixing metaphors. You look a little bit closer and you see a man with an extreme savior complex. The further and further, I'm not going to spoil things, but the further and further we get into this situation, the more we realize that Nathan's and Oliver's relationship has a severe power balance. Nathan goes through Oliver's phone like habitually, which Nathan is also very like under the guise of, I'm gonna keep you accountable, I'm gonna make sure you're healthy and sober. Nathan basically controls everything that Oliver does. And that is not now. What I like about that, I've lost all focus. What I like about that is it's not used as an excuse for Oliver to cheat. Oliver doesn't cheat because of that. Oliver's not like, oh, I'm running away, and like it's not fetishized. It's dealt with, no spoilers, in a way that does not glorify infidelity, but also does not vilify sex in general, and does not paint gay people as like all gay people cheat. Like it's a very, I can't describe that in detail because I can't spoil the fucking book, but it's handled way better than I expected. Like I as soon as the cheating storyline was introduced, I was like, oh god, oh no. But it's been handled so well. This is neither a Brokeback Mountain nor a Call Me by Your Name situation. Back to Nathan. Nathan also is a hypocrite because he's constantly policing Oliver's behaviors and such while he's an alcoholic. It's never like outwardly said, but Nathan is almost never not drunk in this book. Nathan's constantly got a glass of whiskey in his hand. His mother notices that he's an alcoholic, but that's really the only person. Nathan also refers to Oliver as his husband, and makes them wear rings when they're not married, they're not even engaged. And if somebody ever did that to me, I would run the fuck away. But anyway, just another thing of the leash that Nathan holds Oliver on. Anyway, back to it. Other things I like about this book. This book is very cinematically written. It's very rare that a jump scare written on a page makes me jump, but this book made me jump. Very well done. Very well done. Good on you, PJ Vernon. I liked it. The thing that I really enjoyed with this most, I really enjoyed the way that apps like Grindr and such were used in it, because I guess not real spoilers, but spoilers. But you would expect this if you read horror books. Christian stalks the shit out of Nathan and Oliver. Stalks them a lot. Stalks them, and it's scary. And the use of Grindr and the way that, like, you know, Grindr and other dating apps tell you exactly how many feet you are away from somebody is like used very well in this book in a very like terrifying way. Now the app is not called Grindr, it's called Meat Locker, which made me cringe because we're like, this is very, even down to like the way you described this app, this is very obviously Grindr. Now I don't know if there is an app called Meat Locker because I have been in a committed relationship for 2 years. I have been off the dating apps for a while. I digress. The elements involved in those dating apps were used very well to create suspense and terror and the feeling of someone watching you and always being there. I guess the other thing, I'm not going to tell you the details, but the ending of this book genuinely surprised me. In fact, honestly, just the entire third act was like full of twist after twist that like I could have seen coming now that I step out and like look at it from a critical lens, but like while experiencing it, it was so well written that I was just constantly like, what the fuck? Like, I almost threw the book at one point. You know when you're like surprised at a twist ending and you're like, oh my god, and you know, gently place the book down onto your memory foam padded bed because you are feeling a visceral reaction but terrified of doing any damage towards any sort of possession at all. That's what I did. I gently placed the book down and gasped. I gently placed the book down and gasped many times during the end of this book. This is a 5-star from me. I need this to be a movie. I would like to be in it. Please and thank you. Relatable content like nepotism. Anyway, go to your local bookstore, pick this book up, and dive into this shit. Because it is very well crafted and very well written, and again, I can't spoil it because it just came out, but I want to be able to talk to people about it, so please read it. If you enjoyed that non-specific, not very critical or academic review Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can get my videos whenever I decide to post them. This has been the Bye Book Boy, and until next time, I'm saying bye.